there are some mistakes that are done not considering what happened in the past. Hey, and welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about something really strange, maybe, but is really important and is really, I would say, one of the pillars of our society, but also our life, and is knowing the history. Now, we can debate about what is history, because, you know, history, as a definition, is always written by winners. Who win the battles, or who stay alive enough to actually write down the history. But nowadays, with all the documents we have, with all the research that people are doing, and also with our mind and our tools that we have at home, such as internet, we can actually accede to a lot of information. And this is really important. Why? Knowing the history, not only general history, but a specific one. I don't know if you prefer history of art or philosophy, history of philosophy, history of, I don't know, a specific time. It's always really important to know enough about that, because it gives you the idea of how people thought in certain periods and in certain occasions. Now, let me clear out this. We find very difficult sometimes when we read history about, you know, dinosaurs or prehistory or things like that. Why? Because it seems like a world completely far from us, and in actual fact it is, because the time passed, and, you know, passed a lot of years, lots of decades, centuries, and so on. But what really matters in this particular case, from my point of view at least, is that you need to understand the context. That is really important. And to understand the context, you need to create in your mind the right environment to place all the information that you have. Because one of the mistakes that we do, especially when you study history or you are an expert about, you know, certain topics, is that maybe you know a lot of information, but you don't know how to apply them in a certain particular environment. And that is actually the key to understand completely a time period and an historical time. Because if you don't do that, you will be only a list of information that maybe you know them, you understand them, but you don't completely get why things happened. And that is actually at the base of all the debates that we have nowadays about, you know, races, about justice and injustice, about all the things that happen in the history, is all the base about that. What I'm noticing is that there are always less and less interest in knowing exactly what happened. And I want to make a little disclaimer. I'm not talking about documentaries, because sometimes documentaries are quite generic, and also even the specific ones gives you a lot of details, but at the same time you can't actually see the sources, you can't understand from what sources are taken. So maybe they can actually not changing the story, but maybe giving a different point of view. And you could maybe discover more if you make your own researches. Why I'm saying this? Because the more you learn to research, the more you learn to search information, the less you can be influenced in your life, and the less the people can get you entrapped in those kind of tricks that human beings are always entrapped with. That is, again, about society, but not only. It's also about how the things are different from a subject to another, how actually we perceive history in different ways, because we really need to understand that we are capable of not only imagine things, but also to connect in different ways things. So what is a topic for me about history will be the same of another person that studied from the same sources, the same places, but with a different capability of understanding that can be lower but can be also higher. And you know, this kind of difference is what enriches you in the long run, because you will discover that you will never end to study a certain topic. Why I thought about this? Because lately I'm studying a lot. I'm researching a lot about certain topics that I need for making some historical stuff. I will talk to you about that maybe in another occasion. But I discovered how much I actually missed behind the scene, because knowing the general things, it can be boring at a certain point because you know already what happened. But what really makes the change is knowing what happened and all the back scene and all the background that was around, and sometimes can take enough time to cover an entire life. And some others instead maybe are more quicker. It depends which is the range that you select to research. But that reflects not only on the history part, but also on your present, because you will always find a way to research the causes of what you're feeling, what you're passing through, and see if someone in the past had the same problem and maybe finding the solution. This helped me a lot in the past without being conscious of researching whatsoever, but I was really in pain with myself. I was trying to come out for what I am and what I wanted to be, but you know, I was living in a small village. It was really difficult to accede to a better knowledge, if not thanks to the books. And I was quite, an affectionate of bookstores. I was literally reading a lot at a certain point of my life. Now it's not like that anymore, unfortunately, because I don't have time, but I would love to have time to read more. And that kind of knowledge and understanding who is the writer, why he wrote the book, his past, his studies, which role is covering, all these things are, giving you the right scenario of trying to know more. Knowing history is knowing your future sometimes, because you can see that, especially in this specific moment, there are some mistakes that are done not considering what happened in the past. And even if it's sad, it's very sad, because you can in a certain way predict what will be the future. At the same time, gives you the key to understand better what is happening, instead of ignoring and receiving just news like a shower from newspaper or social media. Understanding where they stand, understanding how they elaborate all the things, and combining them with your knowledge, you can recognize what they are trying to tell you for real, not just covered by the sensationality of the name of the article, the title, or something like that. So my personal suggestion is, don't be scammed and try to elaborate in some ways your own pathway, knowing the history, but also knowing the future in some ways. Knowing your past is the key to live your present better. So with those words, I want to thank you if you made up till here, and I will see you next video with new contents. Don't forget to live for wonders, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.